Chair recognizes to introduce a very special guest, and part of the reason that we had all those years of magic with the Braves, the chairman of the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, Chairman Alan Powell, for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. This is a real pleasure for me today to bring a fellow up here to meet y'all and to say just a word or two. Before I introduce him, the guest and his driver is Ashley Widener, and her husband Bruce is up in the gallery. Bruce was a former member. We won't let him in because he wears one of them special badges. So he's up there today, and what a great pleasure it is to have them and to have Bruce come back. I want to introduce Leo Mazzone, a guy who probably any of y'all who are around that followed the Braves back in the 90s, a man who needs no introduction. The most successful pitching coach in the history of the Atlanta Braves. He's responsible for the development and the nurturing of three of Atlanta's greatest pitchers, if not some of the greatest pitchers, Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox, who won a cumulative total of 6 Cy Youngs in 7 years. That's pretty remarkable, ladies and gentlemen. Leo was responsible for creating a pitching staff for the Braves that resulted in multiple pennants and awards, 14 consecutive division titles, 5 National League titles, and 1 World Series. That speaks well. What a nice guy he is. The lessons that could be learned from him and his coaching style resonate across the whole spectrum of anybody who wants to teach anyone anything. And he's one of the finest people that I know of, and he's a resident of Lake Hartwell. That makes it even more special. Leo?
Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, I've been on the big stage in the World Series and been watched on TV by 50 million people. Let me tell you something. This stage here is pretty big. And I was never intimidated in a dugout, but this is a little bit intimidating, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's a real honor for me to be here. I want to thank my good friend Bruce Widener and his wife Ashley for helping, taking care of me here. And I want to thank the city of Atlanta for the greatest years of my life, from September of 1990 to after the 2005 season. It was the greatest run in the history of baseball, and also the greatest run in the history of sport, and that belongs to the city of Atlanta and the Atlanta Braves organization. Now, everybody recognizes me as the Braves pitching coach, but I spent 24 years in the minor leagues after I signed out of high school and got to the big leagues for 18 years after that. I grew up in a small town in West Virginia, Western Maryland, and what started my childhood dream was my father coming back from World War II, where he was a sheet metal specialist on B-17 bombers. And he was honored for the serving youth of the community for 40 years in Westernport, Maryland, and played a huge part in my success. The most amazing man I ever met in my life. The second most amazing man I ever met in my life was Bobby Cox. Now, a lot of times people want to hear what actually goes on with a mound conversation when you actually go out to the mound. You know, they'll say, well, Leo's trying to calm a pitcher down or whatever. It's not exactly like that. You know, when you go out to the mound, it's pretty much to read somebody's body language, etc. And also there's some times when you have a little fun. So one time we had a ball game against the San Diego Padres. This is how I'll show you how smart pitching coaches can be. By the way, you know what I think makes for a good pitching coach? Great pitchers. You know what a good pitching coach does? He doesn't mess up great pitchers. But anyway, so to show you how I'm going to take credit for something, that this is how you work the media a little bit, as you guys well know. Anyway, so Greg Maddux is pitching in a ball game where we're ahead 1-0 in the 6th inning. San Diego's got runners on 2nd and 3rd, and there's 2 outs, and there's a short fly ball to left center. It doesn't look like anybody's going to catch it. But finally, Klesko was playing left field that day, who played it like a bull in a china shop, and he dove for the ball, and he caught it. Well, Maddux is in the dugout, cussing and carrying on. And at that game was Tim McCarver, because on Saturday he's doing the game of the week. As you all know, he used to do that. So on Friday, they would come in and scout the game. Well, I told Maddox in the dugout Friday night, I said, hey, relax. I said, we made the catch. And he said, well, Leo, he goes, that ball was in the air 7 seconds. I went, yeah. He goes, yeah, 7 seconds is an easy catch. He said, 4 seconds is a dive and 3 seconds is a base hit in fair territory. No, I'd never heard that in my life. And I went, yeah, I know. So we end up winning the game. Well, the next day, Tim McCarver comes down, and I have to go out early to give him an example of the pitching matchups. And you know what he says? He goes, Leo, were you and Maddox having words in the dugout last night in the sixth inning? I said, nah, Tim. He was just upset. He goes, well, you all made the play and won the game. I said, yeah, Tim, but the ball was in the air 7 seconds. He looked at me and goes, yeah. I said, yeah, 7 seconds is an easy catch. I said, 4 seconds is a dive and 3 seconds is a base hit in fair territory. He said, how did you know that? I said, well, I've done my homework. So I never did tell him that Maddox told me that. But I went to Maddox and told him, don't you tell Tim McCarver that, because I just took credit for it. He goes, I'll let you take care of that. And sure as heck, it surfaced on national TV. That's just one example of what really goes on out on that mound. But let me tell you something. It was the greatest 15 years of my life. It's the city of Atlanta and the Atlanta Braves. And I can honestly say, because of the city of Atlanta and because of the Atlanta Braves, all my childhood dreams came true. And I want to tell you how close we are. We love the Braves. I lost my dad 2 years ago. He wanted to be in a Braves uniform. So it was quite an honor to be here, and quite an honor to be among this group of people, and I thank you very much for having me. Thank you.